Welcome to the Liberace Mansion.
Welcome to Under the Vegas Sun, looking at the people, the events, and the news surrounding Las Vegas and the entire Vegas Valley. Hello, I'm Steve Schorr. We are live from the Liberace Mansion. Any town in America can really be judged by a number of different things. The culture in that town, the education in that community, and sometimes even the medicine in that community. A lot of things have been said over time about medicine in Las Vegas. How true is it? What is the medical community really like in Las Vegas? It's a very important question, especially when you consider some people are seeking more and more to make this a medical destination. We'll find out about medicine in Las Vegas in just a couple of seconds with the man who heads up the Clark County Medical Society, the largest organization within Southern Nevada dealing with medicine. You'll meet him in just a moment. Stay with us.
Hey, it's Mark Chinook from Monday's Dark, and you are watching Under the Vegas Sun with Steve Schorr.
When's the last time you needed a doctor? Were you sure the doctor that you were going to was the doctor you should have been going to? And what is the entire situation with medical care in Las Vegas now looking like? A lot of people have talked about medicine in Las Vegas for many, many years, but what is the reality? Our very special guest today on the program is the man who is the president of the Clark County Medical Society, the largest medical organization in Southern Nevada, and a man who's been in Las Vegas for a long time, Dr. Jeffrey Roth. Doctor, welcome to our program.
Well, thank you very much. Honored and privileged to be here.
So let me go back before we get into medicine. You first came to Las Vegas in 1977.
Yep.
Las Vegas 1977 is a lot different than Las Vegas in 2018. Did you think that it would be what it is today?
Well, I think it's always been the land of opportunity and the land of if you can dream it, you can do it. I think that people knew that things would grow and things would develop and things would be legitimized and all of that. But if somebody told me when I was an 11-year-old kid back in '77 that we would have all of the construction that we see on the Strip, that we would have 2 going on 3 medical schools and a law school, that we would have over 2 million people in town, I would have thought them crazy. So it's been absolutely a fantastic ride.
People look at Las Vegas and they go, gee, you really grew up in Las Vegas. You grew up here, and this is your home. How do you answer people when they say, you grew up in Las Vegas?
Sure. So, and that happened a lot because I went away for college and came back, et cetera, et cetera. And people think that you live at Caesar's Palace, and I say, yeah, 2nd floor, come up and visit. That always, yeah, that was always good. Yeah, Flamingo, see, there you go. So that's right. I try to go a little upscale. Well, yes, you guys are fun. But having said that, the whole thing is just try to educate them too. Because again, how would they know? Because what they see in the public or saw back then was slot machines and dancing girls. And oh, sure, we have that too. But then we also have world-class entertainment, but we also have world-class medicine and law, and we have parks, and we have churches, and we have synagogues, and we have all of those things that a normal city would have. Our 7-Elevens just happen to be open 24/7.
And have slot machines in them.
And have slot machines in
them.
Yes.
That's okay. So you said the key phrase, world-renowned physicians in Las Vegas. Let's face it, for a long time, and I guess even today to some people's mind, if you want good medicine in Las Vegas, you get on a plane.
Right. So it's funny you mention that because in my installation event, I officially declared that joke dead. In as much as it just doesn't make sense anymore. We have world-class physicians and world-class institutions. The Lou Ruvo Center for Brain Health, and you probably know Lou Ruvo from back in the day. He was a captain at Maitre D', spectacular guy. And he had Alzheimer's, and then Larry picked up the gauntlet and really led the charge. So the Cleveland Clinic Lou Ruvo Center for Brain Health is a shining example of how you can actually have medicine flourish in Las Vegas. And so many people are now coming to Las Vegas to go ahead and get medical care. Another terrific institution is the Children's Heart Center of Nevada. We keep stealing guys from Boston, from Los Angeles, from Philadelphia. They want to come here and actually care for the youngest and most vulnerable of all of us. I went on a tour recently of Sunrise Hospital. Sunrise Hospital has 76 NICU beds. That's crazy. That is a tremendous number. And guess what? They're full because of the large catchment area that Southern Nevada has. A little piece of California, a whole lot of Arizona and Utah, etc. So there is good medicine here. In past years, you're right, sometimes it was a little harder to find, but there's always been a cadre, a nucleus of good docs, and now that we're becoming a real city, more and more people are coming here, and more poor people are actually coming here for medical care.
This has been a town where residents have always kind of put medicine down, have seen the medical landscape as not being what it really is in today's world. You mentioned Lou Ruvo Center, you mentioned some of the key places, but it's the individual doctors that make the difference. What I've seen, you tell me if I'm wrong now, I have seen the depletion of single doctor practices becoming greater and greater and greater and greater within the community. Now, it's not only happened in Las Vegas, it's happened in most major urban cities around the country. Does not that create even more problems for individuals?
Sure. We talk about access to care a lot. And by that, you're absolutely right. With the regulations that keep coming down, with the administrative burden that keeps coming down, with the electronic health records, a few things are happening. One is more and more private practitioners are joining up to try to go ahead and scale back some of the costs and overhead. So as myself, I'm kind of a dinosaur, private practice guy, single, solo practitioner, and I hear that all the time. But more medical groups, internal medicine and cardiology, tend to do that faster than some of the surgical groups. But you're right, the solo practitioner tends to be less and less prevalent. So that's one thing. The other thing is like we said, access is how does a patient actually get into a doctor? And then how much quality time do they actually get face-to-face with a doctor that actually talks to them and listens to them and is not on the health record typing things out, et cetera, because that's mandatory. So that's a challenge that we were talking about even last night at the Medical Society is how do you get back to that patient-physician relationship at the same time dealing with all the regulatory stuff that you have to do.
A lot of my friends are doctors, and I'll admit that straight up front to the audience. A lot of my friends are doctors. And a good friend of mine who has been in practice in Las Vegas for 35 years just sent a letter to his patients saying that he's leaving the practice. And in his letter to the patients, he said he was leaving the practice because he can no longer afford to make it work, that the reimbursables are less and less and less, and it becomes problematic, especially for the single physician doctor.
Oh, absolutely, because there's still overhead. As many people don't know, is the solo practitioner is a small business, and there's of course, lots of regulations that go with that, but there's also overhead, and you want to pick good people, and you want to go ahead and give the best service you possibly can. And the problem is the rent keeps going up, and those things keep going up, but insurance companies, government agencies, and the payers keep going down. So many of those people, those two lines have intersected, and they're looking, and they're saying, well, why am I working 80, 100 hours a week? Trying to make it work, and they're dedicated to their patients, and they want to stay there for the patients. But at the end of the day, they're trying to keep the lights on and the people paid. So that has become more and more of a problem as things have ratcheted down more and more, like you said, on the reimbursement side.
At the same time, the amount of general practitioners becomes fewer and fewer. My own personal belief is that we're in a medical crisis in Southern Nevada, in the Las Vegas area, because there's not enough doctors to take care of this ever-growing population that is here. And I have said on the program, as the audience knows, we are going to see the largest single growth period of Las Vegas by population within the next 5 years that we have seen in any 5-year period in the history of the community. But that means that you have to have the things like enough doctors, enough hospital beds, enough nurses, enough practitioners there to take care of them.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. As we've always outrun our infrastructure here in Las Vegas, whether it's roads or sewers and that kind of thing, and the powers that be do try to make up for it. We, the medical society and physicians in general, have kind of seen this coming for a while. And we said, look, we need to have more medical here, whether it's subspecialties or primary care, which is why now we have 2 medical schools here in Clark County. We have the UNLV School of Medicine.
And Toro.
And then a third one, hopefully coming online soon,
Roseman.
which is Roseman. Mm-hmm. So again, we're going to have 3 medical schools. Now, the other interesting thing is graduate medical education, which a lot of people don't know about. What that is residencies where people actually get trained. Because you go through college, you go through medical school, but then you go to your residency training. That's where you become an internal medicine versus a surgeon versus a plastic surgeon versus an orthopod versus OBGYN. And that can be 3 to 7 to 10 years of training. Those programs have recently been expanded not only to the academic centers, but also to our other health institutions like Humana Sunrise, to the Valley Health Systems. They're getting slots to train these folks. And what they've seen statistically is where those residents train, they usually stay. So if we really want to get medical folks to stay, one is medical schools, then graduate medical education, and then you can really get an influx, a significant influx, which we need, of medical people to stay here and take care of people.
There is a point of where I believe that the medical community has somewhat changed. The rise in nurse practitioners is changing the entire landscape, I believe, of medicine in a lot of different ways. And I think, as you mentioned, I think that the medical community has to make a decision on where it's going to go and how it's going to get there. So I'm going to take a break for a couple seconds. When I come back, I want to talk about the changing environment of medicine, the nurse practitioners, the doctors who for $1 take care of you forever. They're your own physician. You have a problem, you call them on the phone. So I want to talk about that in just a couple of seconds. We'll take a break. And I think medicine is very important, especially to know what's happening in the community. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Frankie Shinta, downtown's king of entertainment. You're watching Under the Vegas Sun with Steve Schorr.
When you're sick, having the right medicine is critically important. But is it in your community? Is it really there? Our very special guest, once again, the president of the Clark County Medical Society, Dr. Jeffrey Roth. Doctor, there is a point of where I think, as I mentioned, that the landscape of medicine is changing. Concierge doctors are growing by the number in a community. Nurse practitioners are doing things that heretofore you didn't have. You had doctors doing. There are nurse practitioners now doing everything from anesthesiology, you name it. Is the landscape changing? And what happens for the patients?
Right. Well, nothing is inevitable as change, of course. And we try to get back to what's best for the patient. At the end of the day, with all the things that you do is did I serve the patient well? So as far as nurse practitioners, PAs, and other physician extenders, as they used to call them, I guess still do, that was in response to not having enough access. And so folks wanted to go ahead and see somebody, but then you call and you say, well, it'll be a month and a half, but we're gonna have a sore throat today. So I think that was in response of the increased workload. Now they've had a little bit more autonomy. So yes, there's definitely a flux between that. And we in medicine are still trying to figure out what the right flux is, what the right balance is, and again, at the end of the day, what's best for the patient.
When you look at your profession in this community, where do you see the needs? Where do you see the challenges? Where do you see the successes?
Sure. I think that there's always going to be needs and wants and access. I think it's going to be, can I get to a doctor when my kid is sick at 2 in the morning? Can I go ahead and get good care and get referrals and not have to leave town? Can I trust my doctor? Is he or she well trained? I think that those are always the needs and wants. And I think mostly in primary care and those specialties, also some of the subspecialties, but more and more folks are coming to town. Sure, we don't do liver transplants here in Clark County, Nevada, but we also do pediatric heart surgeries. We have 2 really spectacular pediatric heart surgeons at Children's Heart Center of Nevada, and that we really didn't have 20 years ago. So more and more things are coming online. We are getting more subspecialties, but by the same token, we're trying to get more of the front line in the trenches docs, because that really speaks to access and that people can actually get preventative medicine and get medicine and put out a little fire before it becomes a big fire.
We've also made some, I believe, some wonderful correlations between medicine here and medicine in quote unquote the places of medicine around the country. We now have physicians and hospitals that are affiliated with Stanford Medical Center and UCLA Medical Center and Cleveland Clinic, probably one of the tops in the country. Those affiliations become critical when you want to move this step forward in the care of medicine.
Sure.
Correct?
Yes. And so medicine doesn't live in a vacuum. A lot of us, we may have trained here in Southern Nevada. Many of us have gone away and come back. And we still have friends and colleagues that are in different cities and academic centers and private centers. And I don't hesitate to email or call my folks that I've trained with and say, hey, what do you think of this case? And it's a little geeky, but sometimes we do that on the weekends and such. So yeah, most of us, even us that work in silos most of the time, will reach out, especially for the betterment of the patient. Most of the folks, again, now new into town, have gone to significant academic centers and have found a place in Las Vegas to call home. It's a terrific place to live and to work, as you know, you've been here forever, but also to practice medicine. So there's still opportunity here.
You trained at probably one of the great medical training facilities in the country, Hahnemann Medical Center in Philadelphia. I know that because I was a news anchorman in Philadelphia for a while, not when you were there, but before you were there. And it became important for doctors to gain that training. We now have, as you mentioned, 2 medical schools, UNLV and Toro, soon to be Roseman to be added to that. But isn't the key to that having doctors from the community involved in those schools to help train and talk to young people, so when they do graduate, they stay in this community rather than going to someplace else?
Right. We were just talking about this last night at the Clark County Medical Society meeting. The absolute answer is yes. In fact, we're so dedicated to the residents and students that we actually, on our board of trustees, we have a student representative and a resident representative, because we want to hear what the current experience of students and residents are. And it may be very different from when I was going through all of our training. So we want to hear and see if we can go ahead and respond. We want to set up mentorships. We have a mini internship program where high school students can shadow a doctor for a day and kind of see what the daily life of a doctor really is. So yes, we absolutely are doing more outreach on all levels, from our resident level to our medical student level to even before our pre-medicine level, to show folks that yes, there is a vibrant medical community here. In Nevada, again, we only had 1 medical school for years and years and years. It was very dependent upon the community physicians. There really wasn't a big town versus gown sort of thing here in Nevada, but they were always dependent upon the community physicians. And we were just talking about this last night, is how do we get more of those guys and gals who are in the community to interact more with our UNLV, with our Toros, with our Roseman, and even with the other graduate medical education outfits that are coming on board. So the answer is how do we use that resource to go ahead and show people what practicing medicine in the trenches is really like here in Las Vegas, and that it's good and to stay.
At the same time, it has to be part of what our state legislature, and any state legislature, I don't care whether you're watching across the country, any state legislature, it has to be part of what they do as well. You mentioned Larry Ruvo, a very good friend of mine, and he has always said to me what his dream is to be able to have a resident center at the Ruvo Clinic in order to be able to take care of patients. They can't do that. And the reason they can't do that is because Medicare reimbursement in Nevada is so poor. If we're going to get to where we need to be, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm going to put you on the spot, doesn't that mean what we do legislatively to be able to provide the reimbursements that are needed for individuals and at the same time make sure that Medicare providers, those groups that do the reimbursables, do the right thing. Doesn't that have to be fixed?
Yes. So the simple word is yes. Now, we have gone to the legislature and the governor, and it depends, and we go back and forth, and it depends upon the issue, and we work well. The governor and the legislature have given $10 million for graduate medical education to be spent over 2 years, and that again will help get doctors here. But you hit the nail on the head. Is out of 52 areas of reimbursement in Medicaid, we're 50th.
50th.
And the problem with that is one, it's tough to get doctors to take it because it doesn't cover the cost of doing business. But worse is if one of our kids needs to go out of state for, say, liver transplant or something very sophisticated, there are institutions that won't take our kid because it's going to cost them too much. And that is most upsetting. So to answer your question, yes, there has to be a bipartisan effort. And because this affects anybody, whatever race or color or creed or political affiliation you are, a sick kid's a sick kid. And that should kind of triumph over the infighting that we have. And again, it's tough to stretch a dollar, and everybody has so many not wants and needs at the legislature and everything. But I think we really have to sit back and say, look, if we're really going to be a real city, if we're going to be a real state, if we're really going to go ahead and take care of the people we need to take care of, this needs to be a priority as well.
People judge a community by sometimes its culture, sometimes its education, but always its medicine. And I don't know how, with everything that's going on within Southern Nevada, with the advent of the great Golden Knights, soon to be the Vegas Raiders, bringing so many people into this community, how do we get to where we need to be without having the things that you just talked about? They all go together.
Yep. No, it's absolutely multifactorial. It is from the ground up showing that Las Vegas is a terrific place and we have terrific medicine. And unfortunately, it took an event like 1 October to show that. Mass casualty, mass shooting, and so many horrific tales. But everybody that showed up to an ER with a heartbeat left with a heartbeat.
Exactly.
Okay, which is absolutely phenomenal if you start reading the trauma literature or the mass casualty literature. And it was folks that called up on their cell phone and said, hey, you need to come down here. And it wasn't just docs, it was nurses, it was techs, it was the guy that swept the floor. Everybody, all hands on deck, okay? Even the hotel employees from Mandalay Bay, they were off duty. They came in because they said, look, I know you guys are gonna need some help. And then people showed up for 8 hours to wait in line to give blood. This is a tremendous community, and we unfortunately had to have that event to show the world what we're truly made out of.
How really we were.
Right. So to answer your question is yes. So it takes the community, we have that. It takes the medical personnel, we have that. Now it takes kind of the political will to give us the tools, us medicine and those folks, what we need to take care of all these people. You're right, there's going to be, I think, a tremendous influx in folks, and we need to take care of these folks. And to have the institutions ready, to have the medical personnel ready, that's going to take buy-in on every single level, and all of us rowing the boat in the same direction.
Doctor, thank you very much for being with us. It's been enlightening, great insight, and I appreciate everything that you're doing, and I'm proud of our medical community in Southern Nevada, and I think people should be the same, so thank you very much.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
I do appreciate it. We'll have some closing words in just a second. Stay with us. The thing, as you heard in the show, it used to be a situation that if you wanted good medicine in Las Vegas, you booked a ticket. It's not that way anymore. It's a good thing for the residents and a good thing for people who are coming to Las Vegas. Our hospitals, our medical care is getting better and better and better. And as you heard, the best is still yet to come. Until the next time, I'm Steve Schorr. Be safe and enjoy life under the Vegas sun.